Hello, welcome back to my channel. I always give you guys a summer TBR, a what to read when you're going on vacation or when you just need to escape the summer heat kind of reading list, and this year is no different. But this year I enlisted the help of my BookTok followers and asked them what their favorite reads of 2025 have been so far, and I think we have a decent mix of backlist and new books, so let's get into it. We're going to start with the books I physically have copies of, and then we'll move to the list I made on my iPad to cover as well. So, they recommended The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, You Between the Lines by Katie Naiman, Real by Kennedy Ryan, Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. They recommended 4 Ruined Realms, but I have 5 Broken Blades, which is the first book in the series. You have to read that before you read 4 Ruined Realms. The Wedding People by Alison Esbach, Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. Okay, they also recommended Zeta Rogers Needs to Relax, Kirby Girl Summer, Beautiful Exile, Death of an Author, or of the Author, Can't Get Enough, James, Tom Lake, Immortal Dark, The Minuscule Mansion of Myra Malone, Broken Country, Project Hail Mary, Wild Dark Shore, Metal Slinger, Buffalo Hunter Hunter, House of the Beast, Book Lovers, It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over, Bloomtown, Dark Matter, My Husband, Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, The Golden Boy's Guide to Bipolar, Strange Sally Diamond, God of the Woods, and The Reformatory. What a solid list of books. So I wanted to go over the ones that I'm actually interested in reading this summer, and then a few that weren't on this list that I think you should keep an eye on, especially things that maybe are releasing later this summer. You know what? Let's go over that first. Let me pull those. I have some physically here. I think I've told you about my recent book mail, but if I haven't, all of these either just came out, are coming out in the next couple of days, or later this summer. So we have The Build a Boyfriend Project by Mason Deaver. This comes out on August 5th, so end of the summer. This is like if you make How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days gay. It sounds great. This one just came out and I think is going to be one of the books of the summer. It's My Friends by Frederick Bachman. Bachman is known for writing really evocative friendships and relationships, having his characters go through incredibly hard things while also feeling an underlying sense of just strong spirit. Sometimes it's not hopeful, but all of them feel very, very real. I am 25% into this right now. I'm having a very good time. Moving into YA a little bit, The Art of Exile by Andrea Max. This comes out in a couple days, I think, or maybe it just came out. This is a school situation, family secrets, whose side are you on kind of a thing. If you like strong heroines set in a school setting, whether that's college or high school or whatever, boarding school is what's happening here, this might be a good one for you. I have gotten a couple chapters into it and I'm really liking the vibe so far. Then we have Next Chapter by Camille Kellogg. This comes out in June on the 10th, actually. So this is following a famous former child actor as she runs into a very tender mask bookseller in the West Village. It is a queer nod to Notting Hill. This comes out on June 10th. Then we have Last Night Was Fun by Holly Michelle. This also comes out on June 10th, I think. It's either the 10th or the 17th, but this is about 2 people working for a professional baseball team. Neither of them play on the team or have any really direct roles in like the on-field situation. These are front office folks, if you will, and they're competing for the same job and maybe fall in love along the way. Then we have A Legionnaire's Guide to Love and Peace by Emily Skrutsky. I absolutely loved her Bonds of Brass books. And so when I saw this new one was coming out from her, I had to. This is very much a what would you do if it's like the night before you're probably going to die in battle kind of a thing. And these 2 people embark on this romantic journey together, but also war and things. Okay, another one for if you like school-related things, The Tournament by Rebecca Barrow. This is going to follow, I believe, 4 girls entering a tournament. 3. There's 3 girls, and it's a survivor skills class, but every year the seniors get to compete in a tournament. It's revered by the whole student body. It's grueling physical challenges, and it's to win the Champions Cup, and it is very cutthroat. It says this year the competition is deadly and everyone might not make it out alive. I'm excited to read this. This comes out in June as well. This comes out on June 3rd. This is Meet Me at the Crossroads by Megan Giddings. This is mystery thriller with a tingling of ghosties, I believe. It says, on an ordinary summer morning, the world is changed by the appearance of 7 mysterious doors that seemingly lead to another world. People are, of course, mesmerized and intrigued. A new dimension filled with beauty and resources beckons them to step into an adventure. But perhaps inevitably, people soon learn that what looks like paradise may very well be filled with danger. Little magical realism. This one doesn't really need an introduction, but we're talking about it. This also comes out on June 3rd. It is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have a complicated relationship with Taylor Jenkins Reid. I really just want this woman to write about people she knows, i.e. white people. I would love for her to continue to do that. Every time she tries to embark on writing about people of color, so far she's done instances of writing about Hispanic people and Black people. It has left me wondering why she thought it was a good idea. Specifically in The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, that honestly felt so egregious to me in so many instances that I was like, wow, I wish you wouldn't. I really wish you wouldn't. And this is set at the Houston Space Center, the Johnson Center, in 1980, I believe, and is following the first female astronaut. I don't know if she's the first female astronaut. Let's see. Summer of 1980, astrophysics professor Joan Goodwin begins training to be an astronaut at Houston's Johnson Space Center alongside an exceptional group of fellow candidates, Top Gun pilot Hank Redmond, mission specialist John Griffin and Lydia Danes, warm-hearted Donna Fitzgerald, and Vanessa Ford, the magnetic and mysterious aeronautical engineer. As the new astronauts prepare for their first flights, Joan finds passion and a love she's never imagined and begins to question everything she believes about her place in the observable universe. It says then in December of 1984 on mission STS-LR9, it all changes in an instant. One thing about Taylor Jenkins Reid, she can write. I will say, her writing style is something I tend to enjoy. I think she is an accomplished writer. We'll see if the subject matter is more in line with things she knows. I'm hopeful. And if it is, maybe it'll be her cue to stay in her lane over there. This book is about Zinnia by Brittany Morris. I am very excited to read this. This one comes out in July. This is about a girl named Zinnia Davis who is told that her college admissions essays need a little more zest, okay? They need to feel a little more connection. And she's struggling a little bit to write that until she finds out that her favorite author is releasing a new novel, and it sounds like maybe it's about her. Zinnia is adopted, I believe, and doesn't really know anything about her birth parents. But she has a peculiar birthmark, and the author writes about that in their main character in the new story. And it sends Zinnia out on this quest, and I'm sure it's going to be a hell of a college admissions essay. Then we have Island Creatures by Margarita Engel. This one also sounds really interesting to me. This comes out in July as well. This is about 2 teens who work at a wildlife rescue, or they volunteer at it. And they met in Cuba, and then they both end up in Florida, I assume, to escape the Cuban regime. I'm not sure the time frame on this, but it's a common, immigration story in that way. But Adon and Vita are the 2 central characters, and they run into each other in Florida. And I don't think their families get along, and they kind of seek shelter in each other and continually to volunteer at this wildlife facility. Also coming to us in July is Birth of a Dynasty by Chinaza Bado. This is a story set in Africa about 2 noble families. One has just massacred the other, except there's one remaining person, but they don't know that. And that person chooses to essentially hide out and go undercover as a servant for the family that massacred his family. And then the daughter of the family who did the massacring is about to be sold off to be married, but then also they're questioning whether or not she's worth anything, and maybe she's gonna be as well. And so these 2 seek each other out to survive. This sounds like a lot of family chaos and political intrigue. I expect the cutthroatness of She Who Became the Sun. And what is summer without a good mystery thriller? This is Her Many Faces by Nikki Cloak. This comes out in July as well. I have a lot of July titles. This says, when 4 influential members are poisoned at London's most exclusive private club, a young waitress is arrested. Her personal life and upbringing are dissected, and theories and perceptions about her spiral out of control. After the murder accusation, 5 men began to question how well they really knew her. To each of them, her father, her former lover, her friend, her lawyer, and a reporter, she is someone entirely different. But which is the true face of Catherine Cole, and is she a killer? The reality lies somewhere between these different perspectives, and the laser of the male gaze has never been more dangerous. I expect solid social commentary. I expect to be gasping and clutching my pearls. And then last but not least, also coming in July, is the Archive of Unknown Universes. This is by Ruben Reyes Jr. This does not have a synopsis on the back. I love when they do that to me. What is this book about? I believe this is also set in Cuba, which is part of the reason I said yes to this, because I wanted to read that other YA title I just told you about too, whose title I'm forgetting. Island Creatures. I wanted to read Island Creatures, and I got that one first, and then Mariner Books reached out about this one, and I was like, this sounds incredible. Okay, it says, this is a piercing debut novel following 2 families in an alternative timelines of the Salvadorian Civil War, a stunning exploration of the mechanisms of fate, the gravity of the past, and endurance of love. It says, Cambridge 2018. Anna and Luis's relationship is on the rocks despite their many similarities, including their mothers who both fled El Salvador during the war. In her search for answers and against her better judgment, Anna uses the diffractor, an experimental device that allows users to peek into alternate versions of their lives. What she sees leads her and Luis on a quest through Havana and San Salvador to uncover the family histories they are desperate to know, eager to learn if what might have been could fix what is. Havana, 1978, the Salvadoran Civil War is brewing, and Nito, a young revolutionary with a knack for forging government papers, meets Rafael at a meeting for the People's Revolutionary Army. The two form an intense forbidden love, shedding their fake names and revealing themselves to each other inside the covert world of their activism. When their work separates them, they begin to exchange weekly letters, but soon, as the devastating war rages on, forces beyond their control threaten to pull them further apart. Okay, this is why I picked this up. I love stories of queer romances in a time when they are forbidden, told in an epistolary format. Gimme. So I'm very excited about that. So those are all the books that are coming out this summer that obviously I have my eye on. They were sent to me, which thank you to all the publishers for that. But I think that you should have your eye on as well if you're interested. And then of the ones that are already on my shelves that people had recommended, let me move my coffee. Okay, so from this stack, I have already read 5 Broken Blades. I started 4 Ruined Realms, and when I started it, I was in the beginning of a reading slump, and so I kind of put it down. But I want to read it, and the reason I want to read it now, even though it just came out, is the 3rd book is coming out in July, I think. This woman has been writing, like, nonstop, essentially, since she finished 5 Broken Blades. And I guess Red Tower wants to capitalize on the fact that she's done. And so they're just putting the whole series out, essentially, in very quick succession. Because this came out, I want to say, in October, maybe September 2024. 4 Ruined Realms came out in January. And then the last book is coming out in July. I'm pretty sure it's only a 3-book series. So I love reading a completed series, so I will be continuing this. I don't know if I'm going to get to the next 2 this summer, but I'm going to try. I have been saying I'm going to reread The Poppy War and The Dragon Republic so that I can finally finish the series and read The Burning God, which I have not read yet. And I don't know why I'm scared, but I am. And I just haven't made the move. So maybe. I was late to the Greek retellings situation, but I have been really enjoying the romantasies that have been happening, like The Games Gods Play and Blood of Hercules. So I want to give Madeline Miller a try because she's definitely on the more literary side of things versus the like fantastical fun and games side of things. And I'm ready to cry a little bit, I think. This is definitely on my list. I actually started reading it and tabbed a little. I don't know if that's going to pick up on camera because they're pretty translucent tabs. But You Between the Lines by Katie Naiman. This came out in February, also while I was in my little slump and was struggling to read this. But this is giving the vibes I wish beach read hit with for me. It is my least favorite Emily Henry book. I get so much flack every time I say that, but it didn't work for me. And this gives those vibes. There's a why do you think January moment that happens in this book too. And I don't know. I think it's time. Okay, Real by Miss Kennedy Ryan. I have read the first 2 books in the Skyline series. I Can't Get Enough on my Kobo, ready for me to read. But I want to get into her backlist. And when I saw that Forever was re-releasing Real with this new cover, number one, it's gorgeous. Look at that. I love the way it like shimmers as you turn it. I generally don't love celebrity romance, but if anyone can get me into it, it's Kennedy. So this follows Nevaeh Saint, who is ready for the spotlight. It says, after months as an understudy, this is her night to shine. She never imagined he would be watching in the audience. Cannon Holt, famous film director, fascinating, talented, fine. Before she can catch her breath, everything is changing. Nevaeh goes from backstage Broadway to center stage Hollywood, from being unknown to having her name on everyone's lips when Cannon casts her in a star-studded Harlem Renaissance biopic. But forbidden attraction, scandal, and circumstances beyond Nevaeh's control soon put her dream in jeopardy. Could this one shot, the role of a lifetime, the love of a lifetime, cost her everything? This sounds fun. Okay, this has been on my TBR ever since, honestly, the PR box showed up at my door. I don't know how I won one, but I did, and thanks to Red Tower for that. This is Shield of Sparrows by Daphne Perry. It is her first foray into fantasy romance. It says, long ago, the gods unleashed monsters upon the 5 kingdoms of Kalandra to remind us that humans are insignificant, that we must pray to the gods for mercy throughout our fragile, fleeting lives. I didn't need a deity to remind me I was powerless. Being a princess has never been more than a performance. 23 years of empty titles and hollow traditions. My sister revels in the spectacle, basking in the attention and flawlessly playing her part. I was never asked to be part of the charade. Until the day an infamous monster hunter sailed to our shores. The day a prince walked into my father's throne room and ruined my life. The day I married a stranger, signed a magical treaty in blood, set off across the continent to the most treacherous kingdom in all the realm. That was the day I learned that not only myths are make-believe, that the lies and legends are often the same, and that the only way to kill the monsters we fear was to become one. Yeah, the audiobook for this is 20 hours. And I mean, it's a thick book. But I've heard people have been flying through it. So I might actually start this today. I have kind of been in the mood to get back into fantasy, and I haven't picked anything up yet. Actually, that's a lie. I also have 6 of Crows. I just found a damn near perfect copy at Half Price Books for $5.99 the other day. Crazy. I haven't read that duology. I tried to read the original trilogy. The title's escaping me right now. Shadow and Bone? Yeah. Did not work for me. The first book I was bored, and I was like, well, maybe book 2 will be better, because Shadow and Bone came out in the time when it wasn't uncommon for the first book in a trilogy to be kind of meh, because it was mostly just setup and no action. But there was action in it. It just wasn't good. And because I didn't have the nostalgia that everyone else had when they were rereading it at the time when the show was coming out, everyone was enjoying their rereads, and I was not enjoying my first pass. So I DNF'd halfway, not even halfway, like maybe 20% into book 2, and just never looked back. But I've been seeing a bunch of people read Six of Crows, including my friend Jessica, and she's like, no, this is better. It's way better. I think you would really like it. So I think what I'm going to do is look at somebody's recaps for Shadow and Bone, because it's helpful to know what happened in that trilogy, and then I think I'm going to read that this summer because it just sounds so fun, and it's a finished duology. Who doesn't love going into something that's completed? Because I do a lot. Okay, The Wedding People by Alison Espach and Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. Both of these were Goodreads Choice Awards winners last year, and while I generally don't like aggressively follow those to like supplement my reading, these 2 titles in particular, I saw a lot of people that give me recommendations that I trust. Absolutely love them. So The Wedding People is set in Newport, Rhode Island, when Phoebe Stone arrives at the Grand Cornwall Inn, wearing a green dress and gold heels, not a bag in sight, alone. She's immediately mistaken by everyone in the lobby for one of the wedding people, but she's actually the only guest at Cornwall who isn't here for the big event. Phoebe is here because she's dreamed of coming for years, She hoped to shuck oysters and take sunset sails with her husband. Only now she's here without him, at rock bottom, and determined to have one last decadent splurge on herself. Meanwhile, the bride has accounted for every detail and every possible disaster this weekend might yield, except for, well, Phoebe and Phoebe's plan, which makes it that much more surprising when the two women can't stop confiding in each other. In turns absurdly funny and devastatingly tender, Allison S. Walks the Wedding People is ultimately an incredibly nuanced and resonant look at the winding paths we can take to places we never imagined and the chance encounters it sometimes takes to reroute us. I unfortunately have had The Reason She Is There spoiled for me, but I think the journey along the way is going to be what really gets me. I will be reading this summer. I have been putting it off long enough. And then Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. This book has been taking the world by storm. I'm actually kind of mad that I bought the hardback when I did. I bought it when I was trying to read all of the Goodreads nominees, and then literally 2 months later the paperback came out, and I would much rather have a paperback, but c'est la vie. It says Cyrus Sham, the novel's hero, is a young man grappling with an inheritance of violence and loss, a mother whose plane was shot down over the skies of the Persian Gulf in a senseless accident, and a father whose life in America was circumscribed by killing chickens on a factory farm in the Midwest. Cyrus is a drunk, an addict, and a poet whose obsession with martyrs leads him into the mysteries of his past, toward an uncle who rode through Iranian battlefields dressed as the angel of death to inspire and comfort the dying, and toward his mother through a painting discovered in a Brooklyn art gallery that suggests she might not have been who or what she seemed. Cyrus is guided on his journey by the voices of artists, poets, and kings, and delivered in the novel's unforgettable final pages to a world that teems with unforeseen wonders. I have only seen positive reviews of this book, which is not a thing on the internet, you know? Even when people are glowing about something, there's usually at least one or two voices who are like, this didn't really work for me. I have yet to see anything, and this book has been out for over a year, which is wild. I'm very excited to get into this. So I would absolutely love if you guys left the stack of books emoji. I will put it here. To tell me that you made it this far into the video. If you did, you're such a real one. Thank you so much. I want to know, of the books I shared today, which ones have you read and loved? Which ones are you looking forward to reading? What's on your summer TBR? And with that being said, I will see you all in another video very soon.